As a recovering people pleaser, one of the hardest things that I have had to learn to do is to be the villain in someone else's story. And at first, this was very hard for me because I want everyone to like me. I don't like it when someone doesn't like me. So once I started accepting that I had no control over what other people thought and what other people say, it started becoming easier and easier for me to put up a boundary. So there sometimes are cases where there's not a clear reason per se that you want to put up a boundary. Like somebody stole money from you, or they cheated on you, or they, talked behind your back, or whatever. There's just something inside you that says something's not right. I need to end this friendship. I need to end this relationship. But it's hard to explain to that person because they're so used to just going along to get along. And once you realize that your body's voice inside you is so loud that you can't live like this anymore, and you try to explain it, you're going to end up being the villain. And once you can accept this, it's very liberating. The other thing we do is we tend to avoid conflict. We want to just go along to get along, or run interference on how we think people are going to react if we do something or say something. So we will anticipate the conversation, already have our line ready to go, or what we're going to do just to prevent the outcome that we don't want to deal with, which would usually be conflict or confrontation. And once we can get past that and just accept that it's okay to have conflict, it's healthier to have conflict. If that friend or that partner in the relationship is willing to talk it through and work things out and have a conversation about what you truly don't like and what's not making you feel right, then there's a possibility things will be okay if both parties are willing to work. But if only one party is, then there's going to be a villain, and it's going to be you. So that's okay, because your peace is worth being their villain. So, or being the villain, I should say. So I think back, one of the funniest sitcom scenes that I'm thinking about it was about avoiding conflict, and it was King of Queens with Kevin James, when Doug couldn't remember the name of somebody that his wife Carrie worked with, and the father-in-law comes up and says, "Doug, aren't you going to introduce us?" And you can just see him like sweating, going, "Oh my God, I don't know this girl's name." And instead of just being honest and saying, "I'm so sorry, I can't remember your name," he fakes a heart attack instead, and falls over, and they have to call 911, the whole thing. Like, he would rather do that than admit that he just forgot her name and be embarrassed or have some sort of a conflict or a confrontation. Maybe the wife would have screamed at him, I don't know. But that was his way of controlling the situation, controlling the outcome that he did not want to deal with. So it happens all the time in everyday lives, but as Gen Xers and people that are so used to smoothing things over, it's a very, very uncomfortable thing to just be honest and admit things, or be honest and say, there's something not right in our friendship. I don't like the way you never reciprocate, or you just don't treat me well, or in a relationship, I don't like the way I feel. There's something inside me that I can't trust. There's something, I can't put my finger on it, but it doesn't feel right. And if you can't point to a exact thing, it's very hard for people to understand. Nevertheless, it's not a reason to stay in a bad situation. So rather than just keep on plugging along and just thinking that it'll get better, stop and just speak your truth. If that person turns you into a villain to all their friends and family, that's okay. That was one thing that was very hard for me, was to know that there are people out there that think ill of me And I can't say my side of it. I can't say, well, you know what, it just wasn't working, or, whatever. And then once you get to that point where, you know what, it doesn't matter. Not everybody's going to like you, and it's okay. It's fine. You're going to be okay. And everybody's entitled to their opinion, and you're still okay. You're still safe. You've got your family and your friends who know you. So at the end of the day, your peace is worth speaking up and just speaking your truth. And if you have to be the villain, it's all right. It's okay. So next time you find yourself rehearsing conversations in your head, or feeling anxious, or walking on eggs around someone, or anticipating the outcome, just take a step back and think about why you're doing that. This reminds me of a friend of mine who told me that a few weeks ago, she heard her husband fall, and she was in the other room. And she said, instead of thinking to herself, oh my gosh, I wonder if he's okay, and running to see if he was okay, the first thing that popped into her head was, how is this my fault? And that just really stuck with me, because she's obviously been conditioned to know that somehow, some way, she should have done something better to prevent his reaction to that. And once we talked about it, hopefully she's becoming more aware of when she does this, and she can stop that behavior and know that she didn't do anything wrong. It's usually him or the other person projecting onto her that they weren't, they did something wrong, or, it's easier to blame someone else. And there really shouldn't be anyone to blame for an accident in the first place. So if you do find yourself trying to control an outcome, thinking of how that person is going to react, so you say something first, or you do something first in order to prevent that behavior, that's a huge red flag. Take a step back and really think about why you're doing that. You're probably afraid. There's probably fear there, fear of the unknown, fear of the conflict, but you got to face that fear, and you've got to just stand up for yourself, and you'll finally see how much easier it gets every time you do it. And you'll start to feel more free, more confident, and more liberated as you go forward. So good luck. If you made it to the end, I hope you enjoyed that video. Please like, subscribe, and share, and stop abandoning yourself to keep the peace. See you next time.